Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. We are ready to get started. So thank you everyone for joining us today. We have a wonderful session planned for you all today. This session is being recorded and will be sent via email with the link to the on-demand recording next week. Please feel free to use the Q&A pods to ask questions throughout the session. And if for any reason we do not answer your question live, we will follow up via email. During today's session, we will discuss what role social learning and user-generated content play in developing a learning culture specific to your organization. Today's session will be presented by Rob Porter, Head of Market and Business Development, and Yorma Jennings, Principal Solutions Architect here at COSO Cloud. Collectively, Rob and Yorma bring over 44 years of experience in the e-learning and tech space. And now I'd like to hand things over to our presenters. Rob?
Thank you, Kaylin. This is fantastic to have everyone here today. We'll jump right into this. So we want to just kind of take a quick look at our agenda here, what we're going to be covering for the next 30 minutes. And in that, we have what we're going to be focused on is how we're really defining a learning culture and what can be done to shift that organization's learning culture using emerging technologies. We're going to be focused on the learning and performance ecosystem and promoting social learning within your organization. First, we're going to go ahead and take a quick poll and to get a better idea of who is with us today and make sure that we can tailor this conversation in your direction. So I'll go ahead and quickly open up a poll, 2 questions here. Encourage everyone to participate. That's great. Well, it's good. Good. Excellent. We're getting some good information here.
Good wide range of motivations and steps in the process here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. Well, let's go ahead from here and take a quick look at social learning and where we are seeing some of these activities. Now, here first, I'm going to start with a quick survey. So a conservative estimate puts us at about 60 million US workers are now doing work from home. There was a huge, as we know, a huge transition with COVID, and the audience that we're currently working with in learning environments are now further apart than ever. One of the things that we're seeing individuals out there these days getting reconnected is through social media. And so how we're going to take a look at bringing these audiences back together in social environments within your ecosystem. Now, Yorma, there's some top motivations here for social learning technologies.
Absolutely. Adobe recently did a poll kind of looking into what are the motivations for social learning technologies and why people would implement them. And the 2 kind of driving factors that we see here is that there is a need to create and support that culture of learning within this new organization that is both in person and virtual, as well as the ability to encourage collaboration and innovation within these groups, no matter where they are geographically located. So it's really driving this growth of knowledge sharing within the communities.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing huge growth in this specific area. So Yorma, more about social learning and some of the things that we're seeing out there that are positive influences in our learning ecosystem.
Yep. Of course, social learning, it really encourages these communities to start to share information and really kind of have that organic growth that allows this exponential kind of use of information and knowledge uh, and you know, learning within, the communities, your
Right.
organization as well. They can be incorporated into any type of delivery format, which is really cool because anything that you have already created for the delivery of information and learning within your organization can be incorporated into this social learning model. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to the content that you have made for this learning. And then every learner ultimately has the potential to become a teacher, a collaborator, or even a curator of new content. So you organically get to see this knowledge growth that happens and find these new individuals who can help accelerate that into the future.
Yeah, then, no, absolutely. And some of the things about the learning technology and really promoting social learning, we're seeing leveraging discussion boards, and we see this in social media as well, whether you call it channels or boards or whatever the case may be. But they're fine-tuned. They're areas that are focused on specific topics, and it enables the learners and your audience to focus on those. And we're going to get a chance in a little bit to see demonstration of some of these, but also having the users, the participants generate this content. And really, we learn in two different ways. We either learn through observation or actually doing something, and social learning enables both. Right? It kind of takes that, what we're usually seeing as far as content being, sent to learners to absorb. This is also an opportunity where they can go ahead and participate and actually identify and fine tune their messaging and their understanding of a specific topic, right? It gives them a voice. Not only does it give them a voice to add content, but they can also participate in other discussions like rating posts and commenting and sharing this content with others. One of the other things that we can do within this technology is leverage gamification components and providing a level of motivation through rewarding individuals for either posting or participating in there, and help encouraging that dialogue as well.
Another really big point of all this is the curation and moderation of content. One of the challenges we find with social learning is that it is informal. And as a result, the functionality can be similar to other social media platforms where things get off track. People get distracted and talk about things that aren't tied to what it is that you're trying to deliver. So having the ability to use curation and moderation to kind of review content and keep things on track even helps you find those wonderful nuggets that maybe would be lost in the noise of other things. So fortunately, Captivate Prime does give you the ability to use that kind of curation and moderation, not only by the instructors and admins of the group, but you can assign subject matter experts, which is kind of a cool concept that it's those people that really are driving the conversation within those social columns to review the content that's there and really kind of let the good voices shine within that content.
Absolutely.
And within Prime,
Yeah.
there's a few ways that we can do curation, right? So we can have it all automatically post, which gets very social media-y, but it's easy to manage in that sense. We have manual only, where you have to manually approve everything, and then there's kind of a middle ground that you'll see here in the demo as well that's kind of auto-assisted manual.
I like the aspect of the content curation and having subject matter experts be able to share their information. And Yorma, you and I have worked together in the training industry for a while. We've actually managed instructors and so forth. And there are people that really have a great amount of information, but they may not be comfortable sharing it. And this is a great opportunity for them as just a stepping stone to kind of get into that space, being able to share what they know and feel confident about that as well.
Absolutely. Having a little bit of control over the content goes a long way, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So do we have a poll? Another poll here?
We do. We have a quick poll here just to see what it is that you guys are finding as your biggest challenge for deploying that social learning program. And we do have the option of, if you say other, feel free to share what that other is. We'll give you guys just a little bit of time here to respond. You can pick one or multiple, so that way if there's more than one hurdle that you're working on jumping over, you can absolutely share that. And it looks like we see a lot of just motivation as kind of one of the bigger challenges that we find, which absolutely, it's hard, and that's part of what gamification and rewards can really drive when it comes to social learning.
Yeah, definitely. I think also with the social learning, it provides them a comfort level of something that individuals are already familiar with as far as social media goes, and starting to apply that into a format in which that they could actually share their skills within their own kind of workforce or their ecosystem as well. And just helping kind of nudge people into that space, I think is a great opportunity. All right. Well, great.
All right. We'll navigate away from the poll here. Challenges that we face with increasing learner engagement is keeping that focus. And when it comes to social learning, you kind of got to walk before you run. So some of the things that we look at doing is targeting and expanding on popular topics, seeing what works, what is driving our audience, and how we can latch onto that and grow within the topics that are definitely drawing people in and driving those conversations. So, going with things like improving customer satisfaction or streamlining processes may be something that our audience is really driving towards, and so we build content on that to grow our audience before we branch out into maybe newer concepts. And then another trick is to host interactive sessions with subject matter experts. So things like one-to-many sessions like we're doing here today, maybe kind of lunch and learns or an open session where people can join and ask questions and be a part of this conversation live outside of just message boards and posts can really drive that collaborative learning, which kind of ties into collaborative activities aligned with those topics, where maybe we have more of a focused goal, but we're bringing everyone together to achieve certain steps. So that way people get their hands dirty on whatever it is that we're trying to drive learning toward. And then, of course, that use of healthy competition. Everyone has that in them a little bit, that they're trying to achieve that little bit higher score and to gain a little bit on their peers. So it's everything from the game that we had up here in the beginning of this webinar to having a point system around learning, that if I'm taking a lot of trainings, if I'm doing things in a timely manner, I'm using that to kind of gain a little bit, which allows me to be motivated by rewards or possibly status within the LMS itself.
That's a big part of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a quick look at some examples here. Let's see. All right. I'll go ahead and share my screen. And let's go ahead and take a quick look at Captivate Prime and the social learning environment. So this is a good example of the social learning environment within Captivate Prime. A couple things to quick note. This is from the learner's perspective. So from the learner, I have the opportunity to post. I could either write something, I could add video, audio, I can take screenshots. Perhaps if I want to share something with my audience or with my peers and say, hey, look at this screen. Is there something, that you can tell me about it, or maybe something that you can learn from it? In addition to that, you can also upload files. So for example, as an uploaded file here, Yorma added a video. I have the ability to rate it. I've already thought it was a great one. I can comment on this here as well. And I could also contribute and add to that with other media, as well as send this and post a comment here. Now, if I felt that, these different discussion boards, if I want to see what other discussion boards are available, I can see here what boards are we currently have set up, and within those boards, I can find the people that I am finding to be extremely helpful in their post, and perhaps even visit and follow them as well. So as Yorma adds more content to the board, I will just receive notifications that there was another message posted on there. Now, as far as that environment goes, this is just a really easy way to manage it. And looking at what our intent for learning is really focused on skills. So you'll see over here on the right hand side, skills are actually aligned with these specific posts and the individual boards themselves. And so they're focused. It gives the organization the opportunity to really better understand what skills are trying to be honed in on by the learners, right? Beyond the formal training that we see as far as, synchronous and asynchronous training, it's what other dialogue is happening, where are people really interested, and where are also people needing help. So this is a great insight. If any organization has ever kind of take a dive into their help desk calls to find out where people are looking for information, this is another great way to do it. Now, from the administrator side, we have the ability to go ahead and take a look at all the activities that are happening, what posts there are, what percentage of our users are actually participating, what boards, as well as the trends of the topics and boards themselves. Now, down below, as I mentioned, there are skill alignments with each one of these boards, right? And we can see where certain skills are being discussed most. Who is actually making those posts and commenting on those. We can follow those. In addition to that, we can also start assigning subject matter experts to help with that discussion as well. And as Yorma mentioned about motivations, there are always areas where we can add additional points to help motivate people to participate, not only to post, but also to help manage these posts and boards as well. Now, the settings is fairly simple to set up.
Can't take a call right now. Please leave a message, and I'll call you back as soon as I can.
Yorma mentioned within the content curation that there's actually 3 different ways that we can go ahead and do this, either through an auto-assisted AI that Sensei that Adobe has leveraged in this space, but we also have the ability to look at the different permissions that we're going to set up. So for example, and Yorma mentioned this earlier about perhaps we want to start slowly. You want to land and expand perhaps the social media or the social learning efforts. And so maybe what we want to do is just specify individual groups to get that started. Identify groups that are going to that are going to be participating and be active in this space and already have buy-in into this. So you can definitely start small and then eventually open it up to all learners. And then in addition to that, who do we want to have it assigned to, and who do we want to have access to the social learning to? Because there may be groups within the organization that frankly don't want to or don't need to be involved in this, and perhaps we want to take a bit more targeted approach to that. Now, as I mentioned, this is the Captivate Prime. This is the learner environment, native out of the box for social learning. Basic branding can certainly be set up, but if you're interested in a headless environment, here's a great example of social learning being implemented into a completely deep branded environment where individuals can go ahead, once again, and add posts, select specific boards, comment on posts as well, and actively participate in this environment here. And this all completely ties in with their headless LMS space. It's completely branded for that organization. So whichever environment seems to work best for you, those options are available. So I'm going to go ahead and stop here at this point and go back to the presentation. Now, one of the things here within social learning, we get a lot of questions about, what do I need to know? How should I get started and so forth? First and foremost, know your audience. What social learning activities your audience is going to be comfortable with, right? And it may differ based on a number of factors. It could be, the learning environment, it could be the work culture, different types of learning that's being delivered may lend itself better to social. In addition to that, I would say start small, right? Land and expand. Keeping that social learning approach simple will help you manage the change that happens. There's going to be a lot of learning experiences there, and also help you manage the growth. Very controlled. Now, get some experience under your belt before taking on more learning interactions, topics, and discussions. Start small, maybe with a pilot, and train your staff prior to that pilot. Managing that staff really needs to understand how the program is intended to work, and also to set appropriate expectations. You'll need to get buy-in from the staff as well as your learners. So common pitfalls may, be documented as far as implementing social learning strategies. That'll include, like, if someone has a lack of ownership or a lack of training. Those are some of the things that we're seeing where people might have some challenges. So definitely make sure that everyone is trained and has buy-in, and spread that ownership around. Have staff members focused on different siloed tasks. Perhaps one person or a few people are focused on moderating, one person is focused on reporting and perhaps updates, or responding and collecting some of this user-generated content as well. So silo some of those responsibilities. Stay on topic. Now, while social learning, it definitely has an organic component to it, it's really important to keep those conversations on task, right? This is done by keeping the intended learning outcomes in mind of all the participants. So when you're working with your staff, make sure that those are always in the forefront. And this will help ensure that you have some documented guardrails to reference, right? And plan how to track your success. Have very clear goals. I would recommend, apply 1 to 3 very specific SMART goals to this program at the very beginning, and make sure that those are shared with everyone that is going to help support this effort. So Yorma, some of the impacts here, you want to cover those?
Yeah, of course. So the impact of social learning is really that we grow this knowledge sharing culture. And that means that we get peer support. People can learn from those around them, even if it was individuals that they may not have previously had direct or indirect contact with within the organization. It makes it easier to receive on-the-job support. We have this kind of medium where people can be asking questions and looking for information, and it makes it easier for those subject matter experts or trainers to reach out to those individuals and provide the support that they're looking for in a timely manner. It also allows that cross-team collaboration. We get groups that may not have previously worked together all of a sudden talking, and then we find that they may be able to have ways to work together that weren't previously seen, whether it's shipping and manufacturing, finding commonalities, or ways to communicate so that they can both improve the process and workflow of their organizational silos when it comes to working together. It also fosters that collaborative work culture, right? That information sharing, but with a personal touch. Everyone is recognized for their contribution as a whole to this new social learning kind of world that we have. And it ultimately enriches the knowledge that they have, and allows them to have a better experience when it comes to learning new skills and growing their job. So it's a great way that has a lot of net positives overall within your organization if it can be implemented.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're seeing some really big impacts, and kind of going back to that to see those impacts, highly recommend that, a very methodical process is put in place with some identifiable guardrails and a very clear land and expand type of approach for that effort. Now, we've come to the end of this presentation. We actually have had a number of really good questions that have come in. So one of the questions that we actually had here is, how do you merge social learning with structured learning? For confirming that actual learning was done. And that's a great question. One of the components about being a moderator, as well as just even being a participant within the social learning environment, is being able to utilize the content that was generated by the participants and the users of social learning. So you can go ahead and actually pull some of that information down. Some of the things that could be implemented, or instructors could actually use those as examples in their courses. So if I'm an instructor and I see I'm teaching, let's just say, diversity and inclusion course, and I see a good video that was presented on this social learning environment, I could actually pull it down and give recognition to that specific student and use their example in my class as well. And so that's going to help do a number of different things. One is, as an instructor, it's going to give you more content, more dynamic information to go ahead and share within the training. In addition to that, it's going to help promote your learners and the people that are participating in the social learning environment to want to do more, because now they're getting recognition. This is going beyond the points and so forth. We're more into the attaboys, and we want to go ahead and promote these users to share more as well. So it's a really great question. Yorma, is there other questions that you see that you want to answer?
Sure. So we have some good questions coming in. One is, how do you merge social learning with structured learning? That way you're confirming that there was actual learning happening. It's not
Sure.
just a conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely, and that's ties into one of the things I was just saying earlier about being able to bring those two in. I saw another one in there too about using more about the LMS and implementing implementing social learning, other things that can be done. So Yorma, as far as implementing social learning, having some good guidelines in place that we've used, that we've worked with organizations, having a very methodical process to go ahead and do that as well, and surveying your audience to find out who is going to be willing to participate in that. And I saw something, Yorma, also about, someone asked about multiple languages.
Yeah, there was a question about, does this solution offer multiple language support?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, it does. Within Captivate Prime, you have dozens of languages that can be utilized. That will be, the participants could certainly participate within the social learning environment through their own native language, but the actual interface of the module can be changed by each individual as well. So it can definitely be acclimated for different languages and different cultures to help encourage them to participate. And Yorma, I saw one other question about what do you use for content creation? You want to answer that one?
Yeah, there's a variety of tools that can be used, and one of the great benefits of Captivate Prime as an LMS solution is that it's fairly content agnostic. As long as the content is SCORM compliant, it can be from just about any source. So whether you're using Captivate or other Adobe tools or Articulate, just straight MP4s, documents, resources, they can all be supported within the platform. So as mentioned earlier, one of the cool parts about this tool is that it doesn't require you to reinvent the wheel when it comes to your content specifically.
Absolutely. That's great. So it looks like we're at the end of our time. I'll hand this back over to Kaylin. And Kaylin, thank you for hosting us.
Thank you for
Recording for this meeting has begun.